I found the red envelope on a Wednesday. Not tucked away. Not hidden in a drawer or slipped between the pages of one of his old law books. No, it was sitting right on the kitchen counter, bold as daylight, next to the empty coffee mug he always forgot to put in the dishwasher. It was just there. I almost didn't open it. I stood there barefoot, robe tied tight around my waist, with a bowl of cereal in my hand and that damn envelope burning a hole in my mind. My name wasn't on it, but it wasn't sealed either. It looked like someone had just finished reading it, or writing it, and left it as an afterthought. So I opened it. And in that moment my entire world began to rearrange itself in slow motion. Inside was a birthday card. Sweet floral pink, nothing like the ones he gave me. No joke, no sarcasm, no silly cat with a wine glass. Just a soft watercolor painting of a rose garden. And inside words. Not printed, handwritten. In a delicate feminine hand I didn't recognize. Happy 5th birthday, my sweet girl. Mommy misses you every single day. One day we'll be together again, I promise. Until then, be good for Daddy. With all the love in the world. L. I stared at those words for so long my coffee went cold. My legs actually gave out. I had to sit down. My hands were shaking, my mind sprinting through scenarios it had no training for. I wanted to scream but couldn't make a sound. Who was this child? Who was L? And why the hell was a birthday card from another woman to a little girl addressed to Daddy? In my husband's house. At first I convinced myself it was a mistake. Maybe it was an old letter from someone at his firm, a client or a custody case. He was a family lawyer, sometimes people left personal items behind. But then again, this wasn't the office. And that handwriting, it had care in it. It was intimate. The card smelled faintly of lavender. He came home that night like nothing happened. Kissed my cheek, told me I looked tired. I watched him from across the room, trying to see something I'd missed all these years. A twitch. A sign. A shadow behind his smile. Nothing. So I asked, "Who's L?" I said as casually as I could, tossing the card onto the dining table between us like it was an overdue bill. He froze. Not for long. Just long enough for me to know he wasn't expecting it. "Where did you get that?" he asked, voice low measured. "I think you mean why is it here?" I snapped. "Who is this little girl, and why is she calling you Daddy?" He picked up the card, folded it carefully like he was protecting it. His hands shook. "Her name is Emma," he said. "She's my daughter." I didn't hear anything after that. Just this low-pitched ringing in my ears, like someone had turned off the sound in the world. My mouth was dry, my heartbeat was thudding in my throat. I'd been married to this man for 9 years. 9 faithful, loving, stable years. We had no kids, not because I didn't want any, but because the timing was never right. Or that's what he told me. We tried. Then we didn't. Then we tried again. He never mentioned a child. Not once. When? I managed to say, my voice barely mine. "Before you," he said. "It was before us." I didn't know about her until a year ago. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him. But that card said, "Mommy misses you every single day." That didn't sound like someone who'd just shown up a year ago with a DNA test. That sounded like a mother who had been around. A mother who was used to being gone. And him? He wasn't just a donor. He was Daddy. "You're lying," I whispered. "You've seen her. You've been with her. You have another life." He didn't deny it. He just stood there silent, like that would hurt less than an explanation. That night I didn't sleep. I sat on the bathroom floor with the lights off, listening to him pace downstairs, probably trying to figure out how much I knew, probably wondering what came next. I checked his phone. It was locked, new password. That hurt more than I expected. We never locked our phones from each other. But I had access to our shared email, and that's where I found it. A folder labeled invoices that wasn't invoices at all. It was emails from a woman named Lena, with photos of a little girl that looked too much like my husband to deny. Brown curls. Big eyes. His dimples. They weren't random photos. They were posed. Emma brushing her teeth. Emma in a Halloween costume. Emma asleep with a teddy bear I'd bought for him last Christmas. He'd given our daughter a gift meant for me. The next morning he was already gone when I came down. I don't know if that was guilt or cowardice, but the silence felt like a slap. I called my sister. I told her everything. And then I asked her the one question I never thought I'd say out loud. What if he's living a double life? My sister told me to breathe. She always says that when she knows I'm spiraling. And she was right. My hands were clenched, nails digging into my palms like I needed to feel pain to stay in control. I was whispering, pacing the living room. He has a daughter. A whole daughter, Jenna. And he never told me. Maybe he was scared, she said carefully. Men do stupid things when they're scared. I laughed. It came out bitter and hollow. This isn't forgetting to take out the trash. This is a child. A life. And he's been lying to my face every day. What are you going to do? I didn't know. I wish I could tell you I packed my bags and walked out like one of those strong, fearless women in movies. But the truth is messy, eh? When betrayal doesn't come as a clean slice but as a slow rot, you don't always know which way is out. Instead, I went looking for more. I searched every corner of our house as if uncovering more lies would somehow make it easier to leave. I found a second phone tucked away in his office drawer beneath tax documents. A black iPhone with no passcode. My hands trembled as I opened it. The first thing I saw was a photo of Emma blowing out candles on a birthday cake. 5 candles. Same lavender dress from the card. Same smile as him. Next to her was Lena. She was beautiful in a sharp, fragile kind of way. Blonde hair pulled into a low bun, thin shoulders, red lipstick, but her eyes looked tired. Like someone who had cried more than she ever wanted to. The second thing I saw was the date on the photo. Last weekend, my husband told me he had a conference in Boston. I stayed home, watched reruns, ordered Thai food, fell asleep on the couch. He had been at his daughter's birthday party. With her. I don't remember much about the rest of that day. Only that I ended up sitting on the floor of our bedroom, holding that phone like it was radioactive. The lies kept echoing in my head, over and over. I didn't know about her until a year ago. But that wasn't true. The photos went back years. Emma as a toddler, Emma opening Christmas presents, Emma at the zoo, Emma on his shoulders. There were videos too. One of them wrecked me. He was pushing her on a swing, laughing. "You're flying, baby girl. Higher." Her voice giggled back. "Higher, Daddy. Higher." He'd never laugh like that with me. When he came home, I was waiting. I had the red envelope on the table again. This time, I placed the phone next to it. He walked in with his briefcase, loosened his tie, looked up, and froze. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I just asked, "How long have you been in love with her?" He didn't answer at first. Then he sat down slowly like he already knew it was over. "Since before you," he said quietly. "Since I was 25. Then why didn't you marry her?" My voice was steady, but inside I was unraveling. He looked down. "Because we were toxic. We fought constantly. She left. I didn't chase her. And now?" I asked. "Now you visit every weekend? Now you go to birthday parties and lie to my face. It wasn't like that." "Don't you dare," I snapped. "Don't you dare say it wasn't like that. You were with her last weekend. You held your daughter while she blew out candles. You smiled like you belonged there. And then you came home and kissed me like none of it mattered. I wasn't trying to hurt you. You just didn't think I'd find out." Silence. He tried to explain. Said he wanted to protect me from something he didn't know how to explain. That Emma was the result of one last night together before Lena moved away. That she never told him until a few years ago. That he didn't want to lose me, so he lied over and over. But I couldn't hear it. My trust had already cracked, and I could feel it splintering into pieces too small to fix. "I would have loved her," I whispered. "If you had told me the truth. If you had brought her into our lives. She's a child. She didn't deserve to be hidden like this. She doesn't even know about you," he admitted. Lena said it would confuse her. That hit harder than anything else. He'd made a whole life, one where I didn't even exist. That night, I went to Jenna's. Slept on her couch with mascara on the pillows and wine in my bloodstream. We talked until 3 a.m., trying to untangle the years of lies from the truths. "He's not evil," I kept saying. "But he's not honest either," she said. "And that's worse. Because you trusted him." 2 days later, I made a decision. I asked to meet Lena. Not to yell. Not to fight. I needed to look in her eyes and understand the woman who had been living in my shadow, or maybe I'd been living in hers. She agreed. We met at a little cafe halfway between her town and mine. She was polite. Guarded. But not cruel. "I never meant to hurt you," she said, stirring her coffee slowly. "I didn't even know you existed until 2 years ago. And by then, it felt too late." "Too late to what?" To change the story, she said softly. I looked at her and saw someone broken in the same places as me. You love him? I asked. Her eyes didn't blink. Not anymore. Not in the way I used to. But I still need him. For Emma. And I understood then, this wasn't just about betrayal. It was about unfinished lives. About promises that were never spoken but still expected to be kept. You knew he was married. I did, she said. But he came anyway. That night, I told him I needed space. He didn't beg. He didn't cry. He just nodded and asked if I wanted him to leave. I think you already have, I said. And he did. But the story didn't end there. Because 2 weeks later I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Just my name written in shaky handwriting. Inside was a crayon drawing. 3 stick figures. 1 tall man, 1 woman with yellow hair, and a little girl in the middle with a pink dress. On the back it said, Daddy says this is our family. And below that, but I had a dream about a lady with brown hair and blue eyes. Is that you? I dropped the letter like it burned. Because no one told her about me. Which meant he did. The letter stayed on my kitchen counter for 3 days. I couldn't touch it again. Every time I glanced at the childish crayon figures, my stomach twisted into knots. I knew that pink stick girl was Emma. I knew the man was him. And the woman, the one with yellow hair, had to be Lena. But that last line. But I had a dream about a lady with brown hair and blue eyes. Is that you? It didn't make sense. He told me she didn't know about me. Lena confirmed it. So how did this little girl know what I looked like? Unless he told her. Recently. I sat with that thought for hours. Not because I was touched, no. I didn't want to be part of their picture. I wanted my own. I wanted the life I was promised. But it was already gone, wasn't it? Still, a part of me needed answers. Not from him. I couldn't trust a single word that came out of his mouth anymore. I needed someone who had no reason to lie. So I called Lena. Again. She didn't answer the first time. Or the second. But on the third try, her voice came through the line, clipped and tired. I assume this isn't about coffee. No, I said. It's about Emma. She sent me a letter. She was silent for a long time. Finally, she said, he told her about you. When? Last week, I think. She came home asking questions I couldn't answer. Said Daddy told her he had another family. I blinked. Family. That's the word she used, Lena said coldly. And I think you and I both know he never really knew what that meant. That stung, but I didn't argue. I don't want to confuse her, I said. She's just a little girl. Lena's voice softened just barely. She's used to confusion. It's her normal. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed listening to the sounds of a house that suddenly felt too quiet. His shirt still hung in the closet. His cologne lingered on the pillow. And yet he was gone. Not just physically. He disappeared from my life like a magician's trick. And I was still standing on stage, blinking in the spotlight, wondering what just happened. At 2 a.m. I wrote him a message. I didn't send it. Then I wrote another one. I deleted that too. What could I possibly say that hadn't already been said? That I hated him? That I missed him? That I didn't know how to breathe in a world where this was my truth? Instead, I reached out to someone I hadn't talked to in years. My mother. She lived in Arizona now, in a quiet desert town with a garden full of succulents and an ever-present glass of white wine. We weren't close. Never had been. But in that moment I needed someone older. Someone who had lived through storms and come out on the other side, even if scarred. When I told her everything, she didn't gasp. She didn't even sound surprised. Men lie, she said simply. Especially when they think the truth will cost them comfort. You make it sound normal. It is normal, she said. But that doesn't mean it's right. I stayed silent. You want to know the secret? She asked. The real secret to surviving this? I nodded even though she couldn't see me. You stop trying to fix what you didn't break. The next day, I took down the photos of us on the hallway wall. Every vacation smile, every anniversary dinner. Gone. I put them in a box, but I didn't throw them away. Not yet. I wasn't ready for fire. But something else happened that morning. I got a call from Emma's school. First, I thought it was a mistake. Why would they call me? Then I heard the woman's voice. Hi, I'm so sorry to bother you. Emma listed you as an emergency contact. We couldn't reach her parents. My heart dropped. What happened? She's okay, the woman said quickly. Just a mild fever. But school policy requires pickup. I should have said no. I should have told them they had the wrong woman. But the words didn't come. Instead, 30 minutes later, I was pulling into the school parking lot, heartbeat slamming against my ribs. She was sitting in the nurse's office with flushed cheeks and a small box of tissues in her lap. When she saw me, she lit up. "I knew you were real," she said, and something inside me cracked. I knelt down beside her. "You must be Emma. You have blue eyes," she whispered. "Yeah," I said softly. "I do." She held my hand all the way to the car. I kept expecting someone to stop us, to call the police, to tell me I was out of bounds. But no one did. And in that moment I realized something that shook me. No one was looking out for this little girl. Not really. Her father lied. Her mother was exhausted. Her world was made of whispered truths and confused explanations. So I took her to get soup. Sat across from her in a booth with peeling vinyl seats and too bright lighting. We talked about unicorns. And books. And how she didn't like broccoli unless it was baby broccoli. Broccolini. I had to Google it later. Halfway through her grilled cheese, she said, "Are you going to marry my dad?" I choked on my water. She looked embarrassed. "Sorry. I wasn't supposed to ask that." "No," I said, wiping my mouth. "It's okay. But I don't think so, sweetheart." "Oh," she said, frowning. "I like that dream." "What dream?" "The one with you. You were wearing a green dress and you made pancakes." Daddy smiled the whole time. I couldn't speak. Because somewhere in her tiny heart, she had made space for me. Despite the lies. Despite the silence. And I didn't know what to do with that kind of forgiveness. Later that night, I got a call from him. He was frantic. "Why was she with you? Why didn't you call me?" "I did," I said coldly. "They did." No one answered. "She told me you picked her up from school. You had no right." I laughed. "Don't talk to me about rights. You're not her mother. And you're barely her father," I snapped. "I've known about her for less than a month and I've already done more for her than you have this week." He went silent. "Then, did Lena ask you to pick her up?" "No. Emma listed me. That was her decision. Not mine. Not Lena's. Hers." Another pause. And then the quiet words I didn't expect. "She asks about you. Every night. Since I told her." After the call, I sat on the floor with Emma's crayon drawing. It wasn't just a child's doodle anymore. It was a map. A tangled, messy, painful map of a life that had already started to include me even before I knew it. And somewhere between all the broken promises and betrayal, I saw something new. Hope. Not for him. Not for us. But maybe for her. I never thought I'd become part of a child's life like this. Especially his child. But Emma had a way of slipping through the cracks I didn't even know were there. She'd call me just to tell me what book she was reading or how her school lunch was yuckier than usual. And every time I heard her voice, I felt something unfamiliar, a kind of gravity pulling me toward her. It was the one part of this whole mess that didn't feel like a lie. But everything else? Everything else was a disaster in slow motion. Lena called me one evening, sounding more tired than angry this time. "I didn't ask you to be her backup mother," she said. I was sitting on my couch, Emma's latest drawing still pinned to the fridge. "I know. She's getting attached. She already is." She sighed. "That's the problem." I swallowed hard. I didn't plan any of this. I didn't even want it. "But now you're in it," she said. "So what are you going to do?" That question haunted me. What was I going to do? He still called. Every couple of days. At first it was about Emma. Then slowly it became more personal. Small things. A text about our favorite wine. A photo of the dog we once talked about adopting. As if he could build a bridge back with scraps. And the worst part? Some part of me wanted to believe he meant it. I hated that part of me. Because I knew better now. One afternoon I got home from work and found a package on my doorstep. No note, just a plain white box. Inside was a green dress. The green dress. The one Emma described in her dream. I sat on the edge of my bed, the fabric soft between my fingers. And I realized exactly what he was doing, weaponizing sentiment. He knew how to pull me back. Not with apologies, but with hope. That subtle, cruel kind of manipulation that looks like love but isn't. And yet, I couldn't throw the dress away. The next time he called, I didn't let it go to voicemail. Why now? I asked before he could say anything. Why what? Why are you trying? Why the dress, the messages, the calls? He was quiet for a moment. Then because I messed up. And I miss you. No, I said. Try again. What do you want me to say? I want the truth. Silence. Then he said it. I thought I could have both. The words landed like glass shattering. He didn't deny it. He didn't twist it. He just said it. And somehow that hurt more than any lie. You thought I wouldn't find out? I whispered. No, he said. I thought I could control it. That night, I took a long walk around the neighborhood. It was late. The air was cool. I passed families having dinner behind lit windows. The kind of life I thought I was building. All fake. Everything I had with him was a glass house built on sand. And now it was crumbling. I found myself standing in front of Lena's house. I didn't even remember how I got there. I just stared at the door like it might open itself. And then it did. She stood there in sweatpants, holding a mug, no makeup, no armor. I thought I saw someone outside, she said. I didn't speak. Come in, she added. You look like hell. Her home was warmer than I expected. Lived in. Books scattered, toys half hidden in corners. A place made for reality, not appearances. I didn't come here to fight, I said, sitting at her kitchen table. Good, she said, handing me a glass of water. Because I don't have the energy. We sat in silence for a while. Then I said something I hadn't even meant to say. I think he's still trying to make me believe he loves me. Lena gave a bitter laugh. He probably does. In the only way he knows how. And what way is that? Selfishly, she said. He loves like it's a performance. If you're clapping, he's happy. But the moment you stop, he finds a new audience. She nodded. Exactly. It was strange, sitting with the woman I once thought of as the other woman. Now I knew better. We were both victims of the same story. We just entered it at different chapters. You know he told me he left you long before we met? I asked. He told me he never really loved you, she said quietly. We both laughed. It wasn't funny, but it was all we had. Lena looked at me. So what now? I didn't answer. Because the truth was I didn't know. 2 days later, I got a voicemail from a number I didn't recognize. It was his mother. She'd never reached out to me before. Not once in all those years. Her voice was clipped, upper class, like she always had a martini in hand. I'm not sure what he told you, she said, but I'd like to speak to you myself. There are things you don't know. Things I didn't know? My blood ran cold. I called her back. We met at a coffee shop in Midtown. Neutral territory. She arrived exactly on time. Elegant, controlled. Everything about her screamed distance. You look tired, she said, taking a seat across from me. I am. She stirred her coffee 3 times before speaking. My son, she said, has always been a gifted liar. I noticed. He gets it from his father. That surprised me. She never talked about her husband. He left when Daniel was 10, she said. Had 2 other families before I even knew. When I confronted him, he said, some men just aren't meant for one life. She looked up. I see that same look in your eyes that I had back then. What look? The look of a woman who realizes she was never the only one. We talked for an hour. She didn't defend him. She didn't excuse him. She told me stories I never wanted to hear. Like how he cried the night his first fiancée left him, because she caught him messaging a colleague's wife. How he begged to be different, swore he'd change. And how 3 months later he got another woman pregnant. Lena? I asked. No. Before her. I sat in stunned silence. He's not evil, she said. Just broken. And he breaks everyone who gets close. That night I sat with everything. The lies, the hope, the child, the dress. It all came back to one question. Do I want to keep bleeding for someone who doesn't even feel the cut? I didn't. Not anymore. I blocked his number. I packed up the green dress and mailed it back to him with a note that said nothing but, I'm not your dream. I'm waking up. And I started therapy. Real therapy. The kind where you cry in parking lots and learn that codependency isn't love. It's survival instinct. I stopped answering Emma's calls for a while. That part nearly killed me. But I needed to untangle myself before I could be anything stable for anyone else. And then one day I got a letter. A real one. No crayons. No stick figures. Just words in careful cursive. I miss you. Mommy says you need time. I hope your heart is okay. Love, Emma. My therapist asked me, what would healing look like to you? And for the first time I had an answer. It looked like peace. Not perfection. Not a happy ending with a man who never told the truth. Just peace. And maybe pancakes with a little girl who reminded me what love really felt like. They say healing isn't linear. I used to think that was just something people said to make themselves feel better. But it's true. Some days I woke up and felt like I could finally breathe. Other days I'd smell his cologne on someone in a grocery store and have to sit in my car just to keep from falling apart. I was trying though. And in the silence he left behind, I started to hear myself again. I'd forgotten how loud my own thoughts could be without someone constantly drowning them out. But the silence didn't last forever. One morning I opened my front door to grab a package, and froze. There he was, standing on my porch like a memory I never asked to remember. Don't slam the door, he said quickly, hands up like I was holding a weapon. I wasn't, but I was close to slamming the door anyway. What do you want? I asked, voice cold, heart racing. I need 5 minutes, he said. Then I'll leave. You'll never see me again. I should have said no. I wanted to say no, but there was something in his eyes, not regret, not pain, panic. I stepped aside. He walked in like the walls still recognized him. They didn't. Neither did I. He sat on the edge of the couch, restless like he didn't know how to sit still anymore. I stayed standing. You look good, he said. Don't. Okay. He nodded. I deserve that. What do you want? He exhaled, rubbing his hands together. Lena's gone. I blinked. What do you mean? She left. Took Emma. Went to her sister's in Seattle. My stomach twisted. Why? She said she was tired of watching me chase ghosts. I stared at him. And by ghosts, she means me? He didn't answer. Didn't have to. I'm not here to win you back, he said. I raised a brow. Could have fooled me. He shook his head. I needed you to know that I'm not okay, and that everything's falling apart. I crossed my arms. You burned the house down and now you want sympathy because you're cold. He winced. I let the silence hang, heavy between us. You lost her, I said. And now you're alone. So you came running back to the last person who saw anything good in you. He looked up at me, eyes glassy. I didn't come here to beg. No, I said, stepping closer. You came here because you thought maybe, just maybe, I was still weak enough to want you. That hurt him. Good. Because I was weak once. But not anymore. He didn't stay long after that. He asked if he could give me something before he left. I hesitated, then nodded. He reached into his coat and pulled out a folded paper. Handwritten. It's from Emma, he said. I took it with shaking hands. When I finally read it that night, I cried. Not for him. Not even for Emma. But for the little part of me that had still been waiting for closure. And found it in a child's scrawl. Dear Miss L, it began. She still called me that. I'm sorry Daddy is sad. I hope you're not sad too. I told Mommy I want to see you when the world stops being weird. I hope you still like pancakes. I made a new drawing for you. It's in the back. It was 2 stick figures under a rainbow. One was me. The other was her. And above us she'd written, Real love stays. I decided something that night. If love was going to stay, it had to be chosen. Not by accident. Not by default. Not because someone came crawling back when their life fell apart. But because it was earned. I wrote Emma a letter. I told her that pancakes were still my favorite. That her rainbow made my fridge the happiest place in my house. And that one day, if her mom said it was okay, I'd love to see her again. Just as me. Not as someone connected to her father. But as someone who truly saw her. In the months that followed, I rebuilt. I changed my number. Blocked him everywhere. Lena sent me a simple email that said, Thank you for how you handled everything. I hope someday we can have coffee. I didn't respond. Not because I was angry, but because some bridges are meant to stay halfway built. Enough to wave across but not to walk. I sold some old furniture. Repainted the bedroom. Stopped looking at my life like a crime scene. And then something strange happened. I smiled genuinely for the first time in almost a year. Not because I forgot, but because I remembered who I was before him. One weekend, I volunteered at a local school event. Face painting. Something silly. And there she was. Emma. Crossed the lawn. Holding a balloon. Wearing a jacket I remembered helping her pick out at the mall. Our eyes met. She gasped. Ran. And threw her arms around me like no time had passed. Miss L. I knelt to hug her back. Tears already blurring everything. I missed you, she whispered into my neck. I missed you too. Lena approached slowly, giving us a moment before speaking. She asked to come. She knew you'd be here. I looked up at her. Are you okay with this? She nodded. I think she's better with you in her life. And then she added something that surprised me. You made better choices than I did. That evening after the event, Lena invited me to sit on a bench with her while Emma played nearby. You know, she said, for the longest time I thought I'd won. I gave a soft laugh. I thought I'd lost. We were both wrong, she said. There was never a prize. We sat in silence again. But this time it wasn't heavy. It was peaceful. Two women, once entangled in the same lie, now sitting beside one another, not as rivals, not as enemies, but as survivors. Later that night, I walked into my apartment and looked around. It wasn't perfect. There were still echoes of the past in the corners. A picture frame I hadn't changed. A box I hadn't opened. But it was mine. All mine. And for the first time in a long, long time. That was enough. I always thought closure was a moment, a conversation, a grand apology, a tearful goodbye. But as time passed, I realized closure isn't something you're given. It's something you decide. And I decided. I didn't want a final confrontation. I didn't want to scream or cry or ask why he did what he did. I already knew. He betrayed me because it was easy. Because he could. Because I let my love for him cloud the red flags that were always there. And that wasn't my shame anymore. That was his. A year passed. Quietly. Without drama, without unexpected knocks on the door, without the weight of wondering when the next lie would drop like a bomb. I started teaching art part-time at a community center. Emma came sometimes with Lena. We painted rocks. Made paper lanterns. She laughed with that kind of full-body joy only children have, joy that doesn't know pain yet, not the way adults do. One evening, she gave me another drawing. It was just me this time. Standing under a tree holding a paintbrush. Alone. But smiling. I made this after Mommy said you were strong, she told me. Are you strong? I nodded. I think I am now. Some nights I still thought about him. Not with longing, but with the kind of dull curiosity reserved for something you used to believe in, like a childhood fairy tale you finally stopped needing. I never saw him again after that last visit. But I heard things. A mutual friend said he moved again. Lost a job. Started drinking. It wasn't spite that kept me from reaching out. It was peace. And peace was too hard one to trade back for chaos. One day, I found a small envelope in my mailbox. No return address. Inside was a letter in familiar handwriting. I didn't want to open it. So I didn't. I put it in the drawer next to my old journals and the ticket stub from the night we first met. A part of me will always wonder what it said. But that part of me isn't in charge anymore. Sometimes healing isn't opening doors, it's refusing to reopen the ones that nearly destroyed you. Lena and I eventually became, well, not friends exactly, but something close to it. There's a strange kind of bond that forms between two people who've been broken by the same person. It's like sharing a secret club. One where the membership costs too much, but you understand each other in ways no one else could. One night, over tea at her place, she asked me something I never expected. Do you forgive me? I took a deep breath before answering. I think. I understand you now. And maybe that's even more powerful. She smiled. We both knew that was my way of saying yes. As for love, it took me time. More than I thought. But one spring I met someone. Unexpectedly. At the art center of all places. He was a carpenter volunteering to help build a new outdoor classroom. His name was Michael. He had kind eyes and steady hands. The kind of man who asked questions and actually listened to the answers. We started slow. I was cautious. Scarred. Guarded. But he never tried to fix me. He just showed up. Consistently. Quietly. Until one day I realized I wasn't holding my breath anymore when someone got too close. One evening I invited him over for dinner. We were sitting on my balcony, drinking cheap red wine, the city humming around us, when he asked, "So, who taught you how to paint like that?" I smiled. A lot of pain. A lot of healing. A little girl who reminded me how to see color again. He didn't press. Just reached across the table and took my hand. And I knew in that quiet gesture that I was finally in a chapter where love wasn't about convincing someone to stay. It was about choosing to stay. Together. Months later, Michael met Emma. She liked him immediately. Told him he looked like someone in a Pixar movie. He laughed so hard he nearly dropped his coffee. Watching them together, I felt something warm and unfamiliar in my chest. Hope. Real, grounded, steady hope. Not the kind that floats on illusions, but the kind that grows from truth. A few weeks later, while cleaning out an old storage box, I found something I hadn't seen in years, a photo of me and him. We were at a beach. Smiling. His arm around my shoulders. My hair windblown. Sand on our shoes. I stared at it for a long time. Not because I missed it, but because I didn't anymore. I tore the photo in half. And then for the first time in forever I laughed. Because the freedom wasn't in the act. It was in the fact that I didn't need to feel guilty for letting go. One evening, Emma gave me another drawing. It had all of us, me, her, Michael, and her mom, sitting at a picnic. Above it, she'd written in big block letters. Love grows back. And she was right. Love doesn't end when someone betrays you. It doesn't vanish when trust is broken. It gets buried. Wounded. Quiet. But if you tend to it gently, patiently, it does grow back. Not in the same shape. But sometimes in a better one. So here I am now. Telling you all this, not because I want pity or praise or attention, but because I know there's someone out there who just found out the person they trusted most wasn't who they thought they were. Someone who's questioning everything. Someone who thinks they're broken. You're not. You're just in the middle. And the middle feels endless. Like the pain will never stop echoing. But I promise you it does. The hurt softens. The anger quiets. The questions stop screaming. And eventually you'll realize the most powerful words you'll ever say aren't, I forgive you. Or even, I love you. There. I'm not going back. Because the best kind of closure? It's not a door that slams shut. It's a door you walk past without opening. And never look back.